Hello everyone, TMMgamer here, and today I have the pleasure of bringing you some very nice Mark 14 gameplay on the map Outpost, playing some regular 6v6 kill confirmed. But before I get into any gameplay orientated commentary, I just want to ask you guys a question, because over the last couple of weeks to a month, what I've been trying to do is focus all of my commentaries on talking about the gameplay, because what I used to do before that was spend the first, half, 40% of the video talking about the gameplay, and then what I would do is go and talk about something else, or I'd do it the other way around. So what I really want to find out from you guys is, what style of commentary do you appreciate and enjoy more? Would you rather I talk purely about the gameplay most of the times and then just do one random commentary in a while, or would you prefer that I did bits of gameplay talk in every bit of gameplay and then just drift off and talk about another random subjects in between? Because I'm actually quite interested in what you guys have to say on this, because I'm very flexible as to what I do. So if you guys have a preference either way, just shout out and I'd be quite happy to do that for you. But let's get into the gameplay part of the commentary, because Outpost is a map that I don't particularly like. It's a very difficult map for me to do well in, because what I always like in a map is the slightly smaller maps, the slightly faster paced maps, and the maps that are nicely balanced. Because for example, maps like Hard Hat, Sea Town, etc, those maps are very good in my opinion, because you can take a shotgun, or you can take a sniper rifle, or you can take a light machine gun and do very well regardless of what class you've picked. But a map like Outpost is completely different, because it's such a large map. And I mean, if you go and look at one of my Reaper footages later in the video, when I actually get a Reaper, look at the scale of the map. It is huge. And the problem with having such a big map in Call of Duty is there's no vehicles to get you around, and it's not even like Treyarch games where they have like zip lines and lifts, elevators, whatever, to help you get around the map quicker. In Infinity War Call of Duties and in Modern Warfare 3, it's just the Mark 1 leg. You've got to run around, and that is a big problem when it comes to a map the size of Outpost, because you spend a huge percentage of the game running around, because there's no enemies within sight. You've got to keep running around, you're not sure where they're going to be, and that's why whenever I play on a long range map like this, I like to use the Mark 14, because the Mark 14 is an absolutely exceptional weapon to use when your gunfights are going to be more long range than short range, because you're never really going to drop below a 3-bullet kill with this weapon unless you're very inaccurate. So you can ping people across the map so easily with this thing. And as you saw from that kill there, if you turn the corner and bump into someone, if you have a relatively fast trigger finger, you can still kill them. So this is a brilliant weapon for when you're looking to be good at long range, but still wanting to maintain that little bit of close combat and a little bit of medium range capacity. Because the problem with using, for example, a sniper rifle on this map is, as you can see from the bit of the map I'm in now, there's a lot of interior areas. So you're going to be running around their map, you're going to be going into hangars, into buildings, and there's always a risk of bumping into someone at close range. So I like to completely cut the snipers out of this map, because as you can see, there's a lot of quite close tight in areas, and although the map is very big, it can seem quite claustrophobic in certain areas. So the Mark 14 is a really good weapon to balance this out. I always like to run it with a sight as well. You see some people run it silenced, but in my opinion, I'd much rather benefit from the sight, because the iron sights aren't the best. And I've had many occasions where, when I'm not using a holographic or a red dot sight, I'll be shooting at a guy and I'll hit him in the arms, I'll hit him in the thighs. I can't consistently get that centre mass shot. And when you're using a long range weapon, the consistency of aim is the most important thing, because this isn't like at close range where you can just turn the corner and blat hundreds of rounds at the guy and hope that 4% of them hit and take him down. You've got to be a lot more precise, and the red dot sight really makes you do that better. Some people that I've seen use this weapon like to run it with a holographic sight, but I've tried both sights fairly evenly, and I have to say I'm falling down now more to the red dot side than the holographic side, because if you don't know, there is a slight difference between the sights. The holographic sight actually has a better zoom in than the red dot sight, so you can get slightly longer range kills easier. But the problem with it is, it's a lot clunkier and it obscures a lot of your screen. So by using the red dot sight, you get that long range ability that the holographic sight gives you without any real loss, because like I say, In this map, in an Outpost style map, with long lines of sight at one side of the map and then quite claustrophobic interiors at the other side, you want a sight that's good for both situations. And I think the red dot sight is the best sight to choose, because if you do use the holographic and get into a close confined space, that extra bit of clunkiness can obscure enemies and it makes it a lot harder to get an accurate shot. So if I was you, I would use this with a red dot sight all the time. When you're using a proficiency on this thing as well, in my opinion, you go for kick every time. This weapon can really turn into a laser tag with kick and a red dot sight. You just bullet stream people down. It is absolutely fantastic. And you see several kills here in the gameplay that I'm uploading now, where I just pump 4 or 5 bullets down range very, very quickly with my trigger finger. And because I've got kick on, they're all practically on the same level. Because there's something quite nice about the recoil with this weapon about kick. You pull the trigger, and if you can time your shots right, the gun just naturally drops back onto plane. Because you see some weapons, the automatic assault rifles and the high firing SMGs are the worst for this. You see some weapons, when you pull in that trigger, the recoil just keeps going up and up and up and up and up, and if you don't compensate your aim, your shots will be flying over the guy's shoulder. What I really like about the Mark 14 is it sort of compensates for you. So if you fire one bullet, the gun will drop pretty much exactly where you were aiming before. So if you can be accurate with it, you're going to drop people off very, very easily. And even though it is a semi-automatic rifle, if you have even a reasonably fast trigger finger, like you can see in this kill here, for example, I put 5 or 6 bullets down range very, very quickly there, and it's just such a nice weapon to use at all parts of the map. But I think that's enough talking about the weapon itself. I'm going to talk about what perks I like to run with this thing. The first perk is sleight of hand, because as you can see in the bottom right of the screen, the magazine capacity on this thing isn't fantastic. So what I like to do is to quickly reload, because there's nothing worse than getting caught reloading in Call of Duty. It gets you killed so often. So by using sleight of hand on a weapon that doesn't have the biggest magazine, you keep yourself with bullets in the mag a lot more often, so you get surprised a lot less often. So that is one perk that I always like to use. For perk 2, I'm beginning to fall down onto the quick draw side of the argument, because a lot of the time I like to run hardline. I like to run it on virtually every class I use. But with the Mark 14, I go for quick draw pretty much 9 times out of 10, and that's because it really helps the weapon at medium range. If you use it with hardline instead of quick draw, you can find yourself losing medium range gunfights a lot, because as it has quite a slow ADS time, and because it's really designed for long range. But by using quick draw, you give yourself a much better chance of winning those close and medium range gunfights, because the Mark 14 has the worst hip fire accuracy of any assault rifle. So you're not going to win the vast majority of your hip fire kills. So you really need to get those iron sights up as fast as possible to make it a lot easier for you to get those kills. But that's enough on the perk 2. For my perk 3 choice, I love running marksman on this weapon. This weapon is designed for marksman. It is a fantastic long range weapon, and if you're not running marksman, you're really not using the weapon to its maximum ability, because the whole point of running a Mark 14 is being able to take people out across the map with impunity, because there's no weapon that's not a sniper rifle that can handle the Mark 14 over range. Even something like the ACR with a kick and a silencer, I would much rather have the Mark 14 in a long range situation than the ACR, because if your aim is spot on, no one can live with you. Even sniper rifles can get outclassed by this thing at range. That is how good it is. So just to recap, if you are looking to use the Mark 14, I run it with kick, with a red dot sight, and I run it with sleight of hand, quick draw, and marksman. I feel all of those things together compensate for the weapon's weakness at close range a little bit, because that quick draw enables you to win a lot more medium range gunfights, but at the same time it still complements the weapon's amazing strength at range. So guys, the commentary is about to wind to an end. I really hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, I'd be absolutely thrilled if you could rate the video. It really does help me out a lot more than you guys realise. So guys, once again, thank you so much for listening, and have a great day.